These are my absolute favorite books of all time, which I will never ever stop talking about. Hi, I'm Rupal. How are you all? I wanted to dedicate a video to my absolute favorite books I always recommend, and I'm completely speechless when I talk about them, but at the same time I just have too many thoughts about them. And yeah, I just want you to know these books, and if possible then read them also. The first book is Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Yes, I have 2 copies of this book. This one is the Macmillan hardcover edition, and I just love how small this is. I can carry this book everywhere. Like whenever I want, I can just open this book and just look at all my favorite quotes. So I really love this edition. All the other books of the Macmillan hardcovers are really expensive, but I was able to buy at least one. I am sure everyone knows the story. It is about Alice who falls down this rabbit hole and reaches the place called Wonderland, where she then has her adventures. And the story is children's story, but it is so wise, it is so whimsical and fantastical that you would just really feel enchanted and just completely lost in this wonderland, and you would enjoy each and every single moment you read this book. So yeah, go ahead and read this. The second book is The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. I always butcher his last name. This is about Charlie, who writes these letters to a friend, that is us, talking about his experiences through high school and life in general of a 16-17-year-old. How he has completely no friends, but he observes everything, hence he is a wallflower. He talks about his relationship with his parents, with his friends, and the struggles that he faces because of losing a previous friend and how that impacts his life. It is such a warm book. Like, it just exudes this warm energy, because reading this book just feels as if you're talking to an actual friend, and it's just so comforting to know that whenever I open a book, this character is just speaking to me. He thinks that I'm a really good friend of his, that he can open up to me, and that is just really comforting to know that it exists in a book, which is what makes this book one of my absolute favorites. Whenever I open this book, it just feels as if I am talking to a real person. I am giving him advices, he is giving me advices, and it just feels like I have a really special bond with Charlie. And I hope that when you read this book, you feel the exact same as me and you find a friend in him as well. This next book is kind of unexpected. I have talked about this book, but it was unexpected for me to actually like this book, because I bought this just because it was on sale. I did not know what it was about. I did not expect anything from it, but then it just turned out to be my favorite, and that is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. If you don't know, Erin Morgenstern is one of my absolute favorite authors. I have read both her books and I adore both the books. Like, she has written The Night Circus and The Starless, another book that is on this list, and it just feels so magical. It is the exact place that I want to disappear to. I just want to relocate to whatever place is in these books, and I just never want to come back. Both of these books describe the exact feeling, exact emotion that a reader feels while reading a book. It just describes why I love reading, why I get so invested in fictional books, why I get so invested in fictional worlds. It is about Celia and Marco, 2 illusionists or magicians who built this circus. Basically, this circus is their playground, their chessboard, where each of them make a move by building different kinds of tents, and all these tents are just so magical. It is a circus which takes place only at night, and it closes at dawn, and the the environment of the circus, the like world that this is set in, is just so magical, so beautiful. The writing is just too flowery and too beautiful, but that is the exact type of writing that I adore. If you are a person who does not like flowery writing, then you might not like this. But if you are a person who adores beautiful writing, beautiful quotes, beautiful characters, beautiful setting, this book is for you. This is also a no plot, just vibes kind of book, so keep that in mind when you buy this. I love the story of Poppet and her significant other. I don't remember his name, but yeah, their love story was just too cute and adorable. Everyone had a story in this book, everyone had a place, and I would not change a single thing about this. It was just too beautiful. I cannot exactly talk about this book without spoiling it, so you kind of have to read this yourself. It isn't like any circus or magical thing you have ever read. So yeah, go ahead and read this book. The next book is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. I have already talked about this book in my previous video, where I mentioned that this book is a love letter to readers. So go watch that if you want to know how I feel about this book exactly. I just want to say that I want everyone to read it, but I also want to gatekeep it. Like, this book is written for me, and I want everyone to know about it, but I also don't want anyone to know about it. This book is about Zachary, who finds this mysterious book in a library, and he realizes that one of the chapters in the book contains a story about him. Like, you know, when you have that thought that, oh, what if I find a book in which my story is present? That exact thing happens to him, and then because of this he gets curious about the other stories in the book, whether they are true or not, and whether the place called the harbor and the Starless Sea are actually present, are actually true. And if they are, then I want to visit that place, because the harbor is a wonderland of books. It is just filled with unlimited number of books, with all these ballroom parties and this food service which just never ends. You can order whatever you want and you can read whatever you want. It is completely just books, and I want to live there. If I could just live in a book, it would be this one. Again, I cannot say anything about this book without spoiling it. You just have to read it, you just have to experience it, and trust me, this is going to be one of your best book experiences ever. If you are like me, who just likes no plot, just vibes kind of book, then yeah, this book is also for you. Go ahead and read it. The next book is another classic, that is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. This is my first ever classic. I read this because of Dakota Warren. She had a book club on Discord back then, and this was the book of the month. I was just really glad that I had actually found Dakota Warren's channel. She made me discover this whole new world of books that I wouldn't consider myself to normally read. She opened that world for me, and yeah, I'm just really grateful to her for that. This book is about Dorian Gray, who becomes obsessed with his beauty, and because of this he starts to lose his morality. This is a beautiful discussion on whether aestheticness is all a person should exist for, even while losing his morality, even while doing immoral things. I'll just read you this blurb kind of thing because it describes the book perfectly. Oscar Wilde's only novel tells of Dorian Gray, a beautiful yet corrupt man. When he wishes that a perfect portrait of him would bear the signs of aging in his place, the picture becomes his hideous secret, as it follows Dorian's own downward spiral into cruelty and depravity. Like, just one of the best classics to ever exist in the world, one of the easiest classics to read. It is also really short, so you would really enjoy it, and the lines in this book deserve to be in a museum. Every line just feels as if it has come out of this really beautiful painting. It's just a beautiful classic. It's a really thoughtful classic, and if you are a person who is trying to get into classics, I think this one would be a really great start to it. So yeah. The next book is a book that made me fall in love with young adult books once more, and that is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. This is a book that I got for my birthday this year, and I'm just so glad I did. It is about Jude, who lives in fairyland with her sister, and she basically is the only human living amongst fairies, and these fairies are just the definition of fairies you will find on Wikipedia. They are mean, they are cruel. These fairies are basically bullies. And there is this one fairy who is known as Carden, who is basically prince of fairyland, and he bullies Jude to a point where she considers, just running away. It is a story about Jude trying to find a place for herself amongst these fairies. She's trying to get respect from them, and yeah, it is just a really wonderful book. This book made me realize that I don't have to read difficult books just because I find other people reading them. I can sometimes take a break and read certain easy books just so that I do not hurt my brain too much. So if you are, wanting to read something quick, fun, fast-paced, and yet compelling, this book is for you. You should definitely try out some young adult books that you just find really interesting. It would be really good for your brain, trust me. The next book is If Cats Disappeared from the World by Genki Kawamura. This book made me understand the importance of materialistic things in our lives. It is about this unnamed man who is going to die the next day, but the devil comes and offers him a bargain that he would extend his life by 24 hours if he is willing to make one thing disappear from the world. And these things are like, books, song, music, time, phone, cats, and he just has to decide if he wants to live 24 hours while sacrificing one thing, or if he just wants to die. Through this book, we also get to realize what would actually happen when one day just don't get to see those things. Like if we don't get to experience time, if we don't get to experience movies, then how would our life be? What would be the meaning of our life if we don't have these materialistic things? It's just a really cozy, beautiful book. There is something really cozy about Japanese literature, like I also read Before the Coffee Gets Cold, and that is another 5-star book for me. And there's just something really cozy in those books. The environment, the setting, I don't know, but yeah, those books are just really cozy and breathtaking, mesmerizing to read. So yeah, go read this book. The next book is Normal People by Sally Rooney. This book is about Connell and Marianne who try to figure their lives during high school and college. We just get to see their relationship, their love for each other, their friendships, and yeah, I love this book because it talks about relationships very accurately, like the problems they face during the relationship, the miscommunication they have. Everything just felt so authentic and so real, like it was as if I was just reading about a real life couple. How it talked about all these mundane things happening but making them important at the same time. I really love them. It is a book that people either love or they hate. I ended up loving it. It's just a really beautiful book, a really realistic book, and yeah, you should definitely go ahead and buy it. It does not have inverted commas, but you can still understand which one is dialogues and which is not. But yeah, if you are not a fan of not having inverted commas, then this book is definitely not for you. This next book is a recent favorite of mine, and that is Bunny by Mona Awad. I have also talked about this book. I have made a review of this book, so you can go watch that if you want to know an in-depth review of mine. This book is about Samantha, who one day gets this invitation from this clique of girls at her school. When she goes to their party, she realizes that these girls are not just partying, but they are doing a lot of other freaky kind of horror movie kind of things. For me, this book is a book about friendship, about trying to fit in, about trying to have a friend. It is also a commentary on how art degree schools are or something, how female friendships are perceived but for me it is just a book about trying to find a best friend in your life, trying to have someone who would understand you. Yeah, this book is that for me. The first time I read it, I did not like it. The second time I read it, I related to it just a little bit too much. So yeah, one of my absolute favorite and relatable books. Go ahead and read it. The last book is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. It is a book about Bunny who gets murdered by his best friends, and we just see why his friends wanted to kill him, how they killed him. This book is just layers and layers and layers, and I have only read it once, so I have only just barely dusted the top layer. I just have so many things to understand about this book, so I feel as if I need to read it a second time, maybe a third time, but I just know that I love this book. I love the writing, I love the environment, the sequence, how Donna Tartt has wrote these really unlikable characters, but you just empathize with them so much, you just care for them so much, and it's just so weird because these people literally plan to kill their best friend, and here you are trying to connect with them, trying to care for them, and it's just so weird. But Donna Tartt has done that. Donna Tartt's writing is just so magical. It talks about how following an aesthetic, how doing things just for an aesthetic is bad, how you create this perception of people in your mind, and you follow this perception to the point where you don't think that the immoral thing that the other person is doing is actually immoral. You try to justify their actions. This book does that brilliantly. You are totally missing out on something if you haven't read this book, if you haven't given this book a chance. Everyone should read this book. I know that this is like too many pages, but it is a really slow book, so maybe give it a year, maybe give it like 2 years. Take your time to read this and truly understand and love this book. So these were my absolute favorite books ever, books I would never stop talking about, and I hope you read them too. I hope you love them too, and yeah, thank you so much for watching. Bye.